What teams or team did you work on with CogKnow?
I was working with the KISA science team for Manteca Unified.
I worked with Living Earth and Chemistry in the Earth System.
I worked on the physics team for Manteca Unified.
I worked with the KISA team for science for Manteca Unified.
What were some of your initial reactions to prioritizing standards in the CogKnow app, and how did that change or remain the same as you got deeper into the process?
At first, I didn't understand it. My initial reaction was, hey, I already know what's important. Why do I need to go through these different rubrics and rank them differently?
In the beginning, there was a general, what are we doing? How are we doing this?
As I'm trying to prioritize standards and I'm looking at what there are, I'm thinking, holy smokes, I haven't even covered any of these things yet.
I was thoroughly expecting to have a little bit of a what as we got started.
But after spending time in the rubrics, it became a little more clear about the different lenses.
I think there was a general confusion about the rubrics, but the more we worked with those rubrics, the more teachers understood it. It became a little bit easier as we went through.
It was me having to think outside the box, so to speak. It made me really think and concentrate on what I thought was most important for my students.
It didn't quite give me the paradigm shift that made me go, what? And give up the resistance. It actually made sense right off the bat as to why we were doing this.
It's because one of the biggest confusions was, well, what lens do we look at this through? What's essential to me may be different than what's essential for a student or even the district. And by having the different rubrics, we're able to approach the standards through different lenses.
How would you describe your team's collaborations as you moved through stage 1 and 2, which was prioritizing and unit development of the app?
Throughout the process, as they got very familiar with those rubrics, they were on it and they were at it.
There were only 2 of us. I was working with 3 other people at different times.
With my team, we were pretty collaborative from the start.
We collaborated very, very well together. And for the most part, we were on the same page in terms of what was essential.
They were very, very deep conversations they had about all of the standards of where they fit in, how they fit in.
Because the process the way it is and the collaborative abilities and the way it was set up, we could do it with other people.
We were talking as we were going through to kind of discuss from the get where we were with each of these things. And so trying to come to a consensus was a pretty organic process for us.
A couple of times where we had to have some conversations and really question of what are we doing? What's the purpose of this standard? Where do we have it fit? And I think that was also just a part of being in between curriculums, really trying to implement the new standards and everyone having their own preferences.
Tell me what you think are the most valuable outcomes of working in CogKnow.
I like the fact that it was using our statistical analysis of our numbering system, and it was allowing everybody to collaborate and coming up with a number for us.
The focus is very helpful. The direction is very helpful.
I think one of the most valuable outcomes was having a program that formalized everything we thought.
I think it generally puts the standards in perspective through different rubrics or through different lenses.
Whoever the statistician people are that program this, it set it up so that we don't have to do that.
Okay, we're going to do this piece, and then we're going to do this piece, and then we're going to do this piece, and then we're going to look and see how those interplay together. The structure lended itself to probably better discussions.
It almost gave us a backbone, something to fall up against and say, all right, here's our starting point, here's our floor, now we have something to build on.
Say as a physics teacher, I might think 5 of these physics standards are important, but not the earth and space. So I mean, how do we meld and mesh those together where we're also covering earth and space in those?
We just say what we think and somebody else did the underlying work for us, and that was nice.
How do you feel the outcomes of your team's work will impact students' learning?
I think the biggest impact, at least from my kids, is going to be how we shift instruction within our units.
It will help students learning because now we have a floor that everyone's going to be on and that we can all start from.
Going through the rubrics and figuring out which standards, physical science, life science, and earth and space we can put together, I think that will really help the students when it comes to CAST in 11th grade.
We'll be able to know what is most important to cover and what we can leave out.
We should have a better time tailoring to our individual population.
And that is going to help me to not stress out about the students and just know these are the things I'm going to cover. These are things I'm hoping to cover.